So many times we hear this concept that we are the author of our own story and we can rewrite our chapters or create a different ending. But the reality is, most of us stop writing. Most of us put the pen down and don't continue. We give up our futures to others, to limited beliefs, to lost opportunities. That is what we're talking about today. I have an amazing guest who is talking about the power of taking control back and rewriting what your life can look like. Because as leaders, as professionals, entrepreneurs, and humans, we have to learn that it is okay to let go and to be able to embrace a whole new opportunity and a whole new identity. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Clarity in Action. Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. Welcome back, everyone. We have another excellent episode of Clarity in Action. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and today we have a guest that kind of stalked. I'm just going to say that. And, we always talk about this concept of finding ourselves, and we have the ability to write the next chapter of our book, and we don't have to stay and do things on other people's terms. But rarely do we find someone that is actually living that right now. And this is Chris Hiegel, and this is what he does. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Claire, for having me. I really am excited to be here.
You are someone, I found you on social media, on TikTok, and you are doing this journey, this movement called Rewriting Chris. And you found yourself in a moment where, for whatever it was, we'll talk about that, it was time to just rewrite your life, change the chapter, change the direction, throw caution to the wind, and you're documenting all of that on social media. And I just thought, what an amazing and beautiful conversation, because I think so many of us think about these things, but would never actually take the leap and do it. So I would love to just start with, what was your moment of clarity that led you to do this?
Absolutely. Well, again, I'm really excited to be able to share that on a bigger platform like yours, because once it started, you can easily look back and say things like, well, oh, he had success, so therefore it worked. But in the moment, you really don't know if things are going to unfold the way they do. Mm-hmm. For me, though, it wasn't about getting to the point where people are seeing this. It was an accountability thing for me to make sure that I not only took the leap, but stayed in the leap, because it is so easy to go backwards. You're so comfortable in situations and settings that you can I can go back. I know that uncomfortability because it's comfortable in a weird way. That's like this juxtapose.
Sure.
But for me, the leap really started after 10 years. It wasn't just overnight. I think it's easy when we're going through a job to be like, oh, I don't like this. I want to start something new. But for me, 10 years, I fought this inner struggle of I was made for more. I was being taken advantage of in my career and in my relationship. And I decided that the leap was, like we talked about on the phone earlier, when you're put up against a wall and you're kind of forced to make a decision that says, I can either go forward with what I believe that I can accomplish and do in my own life, or I can stay in this pattern. Mm-hmm. And when I realized that the pattern's never going to change, no one's going to come to save me, it's never going to reposition itself, it's always going to be this, I had to say, I don't want this anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the feeling and decision I had to really honor in myself.
Yeah. Going through this, it reminds me, one of my very favorite readings is Marianne Williamson's Return to Love, where she talks about our deepest fear. And one of the lines that really hit with me when I read it for the first time in 2009 was, your playing small doesn't serve the world. And I think there are so many people out there, regardless of if it's a professional or personal thing, they're at this crossroads. Like you said, sometimes it's been a 10-year journey to get to that, but they realize kind of it's now or never. And we have to start going in a different direction. Now, there's a lot of fear Sometimes it could be the fear of the unknown. For some people, what motivates them is the fear of standing still. And as you mentioned, it's never going to change. So what drove you more? Was it the, what kind of fears were you facing, whether it was the fear of the unknown or what would happen if I stayed where I was?
Yeah, absolutely. You make some great points. I think we all can come to this crossroads. And I think that for our entire life, we're kind of raised with this mindset like, get good at one thing, become a master at it, and that's your life. And that works for a lot of people. But for me, I like to be good at a lot of different things. And I like to be kind of well versed in different avenues of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. And one thing I had to come to grips with is that your life can change, and that's okay. In fact, it's one of the most beautiful things of life because whether you want it to change or not, sometimes it's going to change for you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have the opportunity to kind of take a grip of your own life and take fold, and you have a decision, sometimes it's the most powerful thing you can do. But for me, it was the aspect of being stagnant, like you said. There was no growth in the career. There was no, whether you look at growth as financial, spiritual, economic, whatever it is for your growth. My growth hit a wall and a plateau, and you weren't breaking through that. I reached the ceiling of it. And so there was a career plateau and a career stagnant position, and I didn't want to deal with that. And then I realized in my own relationship, kind of simultaneously, which you never want to do at the same time in life, but they happened to unfold that way. And I realized that there was no future. And we both wanted very different things, and that's completely fine. What she wanted was A-okay, and what I wanted was okay. But for me to feel like I had to put aside what I wanted just to appease or make her happy would have redefined my entire future with my future family, with all these things that I really wanted. And so many people put aside their own dreams and hopes to make someone else happy, or some other career happy, or some other boss happy. And for me, I said, I want to be happy. And it's not selfish. I think we look at contentment and desire, and we don't blur those together. You can be content and also have dreams and also still want more. And it's not selfish. It's human. It's what we are built to do. And I think that we could be grateful and still want more. And I was grateful, but I also realized there's more, and I know that I need to be doing that. So it's kind of how that unfolded.
Yeah. I think one of the things that drew me so much to what you were doing, again, your little video diary is called Rewriting Chris. And, you talk earlier about this idea of our comfort zones. And as dysfunctional, as much as we know where we are may not be the best situation for us, it's comfortable. And sometimes staying in the discomfort of the comfort is enough for us because at least we know that.
Mhm.
And going out and doing this is going to require you rebuilding and redefining your identity, which can be really awkward. And some of the things that you did is like you went to the fair by yourself. You went to the movies by yourself and kind of really just went into this whole thing of just getting rid of your old identity. So talk a little bit about some of those experiences that you had and kind of what came up for you when you started doing these.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been in that people pleasing mindset. You become reliant on people, and you want to spend your time and share your experiences with someone. And that's the comfortability. And it could be the worst relationship in the world, but you know it. And what you know is what makes you comfortable. And unfortunately, comfortability is what I think aligns with falling into certain patterns, or you won't leave a situation because you're comfortable. Like you said, it's all you know, really.
Right.
And I think when we come from backgrounds of traumatic experiences as well, kind of what my upbringing was, and we can go into that later, you have familiarity with pain and grief and being mistreated. And it's like, well, I know that, and therefore why shift it? And when it comes to a job, it's little, but you get used to a salary, you get used to a paycheck, even as simple as you just don't want to go through shifting things in your life, restarting, going to a different bank, getting new. It's all these things that just kind of, you're like, well, I'll just do it later, and I'll do it later, and I'll do it later. And then later is 10 years later,
Yeah.
unfortunately, But for me, the channel, it's been an experience for me because, like I said, it's an accountability measure. And it forced me to really get out of that comfort zone, like you mentioned. Because when you go places alone, you are the weird person in the corner filming yourself, doing awkward things and talking to the camera. And yeah, at first I was terrified, if I'm being completely honest with you. I didn't want to be in that position. And I also didn't think my channel would unfold and take off the way it did and be seen like people like you, which I'm super excited about. That's just the byproduct, I believe, on betting yourself and success and how the world kind of works. I believe that what we put into things kind of you receive back. And so I kind of just said, I'm going to put my best foot forward with this channel. I'm going to be as vulnerable as I can, because the one thing I had not done for 10 years is be authentic and be real. I was always masking or always putting on a face, even in my own relationship, which is so sad. I was not my true authentic self and the most honest version of me. And I know it's silly at time when I made these videos, I'm like, this is silly. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. And then I realized when people started DMing me and commenting of how, in my opinion, it was silly, but from someone else's perspective, it was powerful. And they started seeing things like, wow, you took yourself to lunch today. And I was like, well, yeah, that's just something that I thought I should do. And they're like, well, I want to do that. And you're like, I think you should.
Yeah.
And seeing how me just telling a story, me going to the fair, me going to Disneyland, me going to theme parks, me filming myself at lunch by myself and offering encouragement that I don't have all the answers. I'm still healing. And I don't think I'm ever going to arrive, because healing isn't an arrival. Healing is a constant and a realization that we all have things to work through and work on and continually grow through. But that's the beauty, is we are so multidimensional. We're not so one-sided. Mm-hmm. And when we can discover that through these opportunities that we choose to take, we find a real honest version of ourselves. And so the channel's allowed me to become more honest, more authentic. And the vulnerability has become one of my biggest strengths as I communicate to my audience, to those that choose to follow me, that you guys can do this, that you can thrive. And your thrive looks way different than mine. But the aspect is you have to choose yourself constantly. Your motto has to be, I don't have the answers, but sure as hell, I'm going to go find them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what I've been portraying through my channel.
I love that. I want to tap a little bit more into this concept of authenticity and vulnerability as it relates maybe more on a professional side, because a lot of people that are following this are in leadership, entrepreneurship, they're in the business realm. So many of us fight with this, and many times we don't even know it. But why is it so important for leaders today, people in the professional world, as we're guiding others, leading others? Why is it so important to be vulnerable and authentic in our roles? And what are maybe some of the costs to not showing up and not allowing this to happen?
Absolutely. Vulnerability it's a powerful tool if used effectively. And you have to understand that you can't just be, spill your guts. It's not what vulnerability is. The vulnerability is a realness that allows people to see a side of you that is built in strength and courage, because you can't just fake it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that mindset of faking it, I think we have been trained, unfortunately, in a lot of leadership. Not the idea that fake it till you make it. A lot of people have the resource to be, or education to be that. But we do portray a visual representation of a leader and an inward leader that isn't kind of co-aligning. And I think there's I think people can see through the lens now. I think we're at a point of society where people can really see a leader that's authentic versus a leader that's really just trying to be something they're not. Yeah. I think that when you're running a business, or you have employees, or you're an entrepreneur, or anything that you're doing in your life, people will see the real you. Whether you decide to, you think you're doing a great job or not, I think people really can understand what you value or not. And I think that as a leader, when you have employees, or when you're running a business, or you have products, or you have content, or you have an audience, you want to find relativity in everyone you work with. And as a leader who can understand that, you have a skill set and you are being given in charge. And when you have the ability to find the relativity in your employees or anyone else, one, they first understand that you care and you value them, and vulnerability shows you care. So that's what I would say. It's, and I'll be honest, in my career of 10 years, I was a leader. I was in charge of a lot of people, and I won't go into the details of the specifics of it. But once I understood later that I need to stop portraying and being, just be who I am, understand that I'm not living in this. There's I'm blanking on the word right now, imposter syndrome. I can live into the actual reality of my job and my title. I'm not living behind the title. I'm living into who I am.
Yeah. As a high performer, I love to start my day with two critical things. One, time with my dog, and two, coffee. And not just good coffee, but great coffee. I am proud to have Fetch Coffee Roasters as a sponsor for Clarity in Action, not only because they have great coffee with fun names such as Muddy Paws and Squirrel, but also for every bag of coffee that they sell, they donate $1 to helping dogs in need. I mean, how much better could it get than that? In fact, they've raised over $25,000 in their local communities. So go over to fetchroasters.com and grab your coffee and share some love with some dogs in your community too. I love it. So I would love to just get your perspective. I know you're still in the midst of this journey, but what are some of the lessons that you're learning? What are some of the boundaries that maybe you're creating for yourself and some of the new non-negotiables that, you're putting into play?
It's a wonderful question. When I took the leap, when I left the career and the relationship, and I say this in my channel every time. Hi, episode 1 of me starting over my whole entire life. I lost the job and the girl all in the same week. And here's my story. And that became a staple. And that became a reason, right? One of the things I'm learning through this journey is, one, how much do I respect myself? I had to grieve the concept that I didn't respect myself enough for 10 years to protect my heart, protect my mind, and unfortunately protect my boundaries. Because, like we mentioned, comfortability is a real deceiving enemy. We will put aside our own boundaries. We won't say no. We will do things that we know that push us, that aren't right, unfortunately. And I won't say legally right, just right for us.
Right.
Because we don't want to affect anyone else, except the one person we are affecting the most is ourselves. And so learning to grieve the biggest hurdle was that I was not protecting myself and not respecting who I am. And that took some time. That's still something that you look back and you go, oh man, like I really wish someone would have sat me down and said, this isn't you. Who is this? And you're losing yourself. I'm not lost. And I always say, you're not lost and you're not broken. You're rebuilding. And I had to really, as I'm communicating these words, go to myself in the mirror. You're not lost. You're not broken. Yeah. You're rebuilding.
I always say that I'm not broken. I'm just a little hail damaged.
That's right. Exactly. I just dented. I love that. So that's one of the biggest lessons I've had to learn. And then the boundaries is a beautiful word for that, because we allow anybody and everybody in a people-pleasing mindset. It could be a complete stranger. We will put aside our boundaries to make someone else feel better. A person online feel better. A comment on someone that mentioned, you just want to make them happy. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries in your own life. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the word no. You have every right and reason to stand up for yourself when you're being mistreated in a job, when you're being mistreated in a relationship, and when you're mistreated in general. In fact, and there's nothing rude about being respectful to yourself. I think we have recategorized it, society, and says, oh, well, they're just being rude. No, they're being respectful of themselves. We don't have to. I can be a kind person and not be treated like this. Right. There's the difference. So I had to learn those lessons as I'm communicating to them on my channel. This is what I'm learning. I'm broken. No, I'm not. I'm rebuilding. Yeah. I'm blah. No, I'm not. I'm blah, blah, blah. And I think showing that authenticity of, this is what I used to think, and this is what I think now. I think people are craving something online, especially, I know male and female alike, but there's a lot of, in the male driven, aspects of society, a lot of people, guys, don't become vulnerable as well. They don't share, they don't open up. And I think that's a space that I'm leaning into a little bit more as well in the mental health side on my channel.
That's so good. And I love the idea that you talk about with the grieving and allowing yourself to do that, because whether you're doing something as dramatic as you're going through, the person that we were when we were 20 is not the same person we are when we're 40. And so sometimes, again, letting go and grieving that old identity is a way to also honor it sometimes and to say, that's who you were. I know, just again, being a female, you go through these things. I'm an empty nester now. So my
Mm,
identity is changing. And some
yeah.
people really struggle with that. And I don't think you can. I think you can honor the old version of you without having it to, again, like you said, break you or,
Mhm.
you know, have a catastrophic, detriment to going forward in what we're doing. So I think that that is awesome. So, again, you are sharing this journey on social media. You talk about the idea of being vulnerable. I mean, you're putting yourself in a fishbowl,
Yep.
and that's not always easy to do. So I honor you for being able to do that, because I think you're really tapping into the sense of humanity and a connection or a connectiveness that is bringing people together. And I think that that is so big. So if somebody's watching this, again, I'm not saying that you or I are saying, okay, go home tonight,
Yeah.
go get a divorce, break up, quit your
Yeah.
job. Hey, if you want to do that, do it. But
It's
but
on you.
even on a small level, what are some small things that somebody could do to start this journey of rewriting and honoring themselves more?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. You know, for me, like I said, 10 years, I'm sure there's a lot of people on the channel that have even more years than that. Or
Mhm.
there's something in them. And I would say this, I don't have to explain it to you. You already know, which is why this content's resonating with you.
Mhm.
Usually what resonates with us, there's something inside of us that says, ah man, I don't need to write it on a whiteboard for you. It's right in front of your face. But for me, it's kind of take an audit of your life. Take an audit of your career, take an audit of your relationship, and not in a way that, like you said, go home, divorce your wife, divorce your husband, leave your job, and it all works out. That's the complete opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying you might take an audit and go, actually, my life is fantastic. I'm just not liking the mornings. I don't like waking up early, or we had an argument. That's what an audit does. It gets to the pinpoint of what's the problem. And sometimes the pinpoint problem isn't as dramatic as you are letting it unfold. And that's another aspect of the channel. But if you're watching it and you're kind of something's triggering or something's becoming insightful for you, I always say take the audit and understand, what are you looking for? And what do you want to accomplish in your life? What do you want from this experience? And
Mhm.
if you can understand and put two words or an idea of, this is what I actually desire, and understand if the desire is not something like, I don't say go leave your family and just travel the world, in the line of who you are, and it doesn't change or make you a worse off person.
Right.
I say understand that, and then let it align. So if for me, decided after 10 years, because I fought this for 10 years, I came to that crossroads. I either have, it's as simple as I don't do it or I do it. But a
Mhm.
lot of people have other things. So I say understand before you leap. If you are in a position of that leap, though, and this is big, really try to grasp what's going to unfold in your life.
Yeah.
And for me, it was, I knew that taking a chance was that what we're talking about is betting on myself. And
Mhm.
I knew without a shadow of a doubt that I could bet on myself.
Yeah.
Um, I've been raised my whole life in experiences that I had to bet on myself. And unfortunately, why I settled and fell into this trap was because I stopped betting on myself. That's kind of the thing. It's just whatever it looks like for you.
Mhm.
All my encouragement is, you can do what you set out your heart to do and your mind to do if it aligns. And again, like you mentioned, your identity is going to shift in general.
Mhm.
We're changing individuals. Society changes us. Economics change us. Things, we have all these arrows and pinpoints hitting us, and we're changing. But we need to look within and hold to our core and realize that I just need to value myself and value how I look at myself, in the sense of, the world can change, people can change around me, relationships can change, jobs can change. I don't want to shift from the authentic version of me. And that's the boundary I'm setting, is nothing can alter that as much as it wants to, as much as people want to change me, and as people want to bring me down. And of course, through this, you get the negative side of it, which is part of it. And nothing's going to shift that, because I've set myself in a position of, I'll never do that again, because I've experienced it.
Right. It's so true. I love it. So, as you're going through this journey, I would love to ask, what is next for you? What's coming up next? How long do you think you'll do this journey? Do you have a book coming out of you? Like, what's next for Chris?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I did start writing a book, and it's not an education based just drive home but it's a story, and it's called Did It Work? And it's on this mindset of the healing. Well, did it work? And that's the beauty of it. It's always constant. And that's going to be coming out later this year. But for me, it's this whole experience for my social media has been over a year and a half now. I've been retelling my story in a fun and more open way through my story. So I went from complete brokenness to slowly, because I want people to experience seeing healing and change unfold. And I love that that's where that kind of dials shifted now, because I can constantly be like, I'm this, but now it's like, guys, the other side is beautiful, and it's encouraging, and I'm uplifted from it. And that's the shift. So my goal with this channel really is to be consistent in my encouragement and understanding, but I'm going to be releasing, pieces of my life that are coming to fruition, people I've met, and opportunities that have come my way, and things that are going to be unfolding, things I can't even talk about yet, which is super cool.
Well, that might have to be part 2 of our talk. You'll have to.
Absolutely. I like I said, when you bet on yourself, you don't understand the opportunities that can come your way. And this is an example of it. But I got to speak with and I can't say which company, but a casting director for a big TV, and things are happening behind the scenes, because I don't believe life can reward you holding on to what comfort you have. You have no open hands. You can't get any more. But I might let go of everything. My arms opened up, and I am just letting opportunity come my way. And I guess what? My no's are not shifting into fear no's. They're like, I want the opportunity, and I'm really living into that now. And I can't tell you, Clara, that my life has shifted in this last year in the most positive, forward moving way. At times it didn't feel like that, of course. In the beginning, I sat with what on earth am I doing? With my zero money in my bank account, I had to, it was, as they say, I was broken, and I was scratching for food.
Yeah.
And now I'm thriving. I'm happy, and I believe in myself again, which is
that's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. You got to take that leap. So, Chris, I have just loved our conversation. I love the story. I really encourage people to go and follow your journey. Again, it's called Rewriting Chris. I found it on TikTok, and I know it's out there. Yeah. One final question before I let you go for today, and that is, sitting where you sit today, learning all of these things, how do you now define success for yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that question. I know what success wasn't. And I know that I reached a barrier of success that everyone else deemed to be successful. And when someone else tells you what success is, it's not success for you. Yeah. And that's what I'm holding to. My success comes from understanding that I can be grateful and content. And I have been blessed this last year, not because I sat there doing nothing. I put the pedal to the metal, and I said, I'm gonna work on my healing, and I'm gonna work on myself. Yeah. And then my success is also understanding that I can go after my dreams. And my success really for me, and the one thing I'll share, is when you understand that fear is going to come along for the ride. I think we're so intent on removing fear. Well, if I'm fearful, it must not be a good thing. No, fear is going to come along, and it's going to sit in the passenger seat. And sometimes it's going to be there for the rest of your life. But it's when you decide to just keep going and driving and just taking it along for the journey, and really living into that some of the best experiences and opportunities I've had come after just embracing the fear. First, the channel, I was scared to death. Who wants to share their story? Who wants to look so, I got broken, I broke up, my career's ended. Oh, that's something really, that's really going to get a relationship going. Yeah. But look where it's taken me. And so that was
Look at
my
all the
biggest.
people that you've helped and impacted along the way. You know,
Absolutely.
that's what it is. So love
Yeah.
it. Well, Chris, thank you so much. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable to share your story with the world so that I could find you and then you could share it with my people who are following us here, and just wish you continued
Absolutely.
success. Let us know when the book comes out. Come back, share the next chapter with us, and we're just going to continue to keep following you. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Claire, so much. I really appreciate you.
I really just appreciate what Chris is doing. Like I said, I kind of stalked him on social media and just wanted to talk with him because I know for me, there's been definitely times where I hit a wall and I know there's more that I can do, but I'm afraid. I'm afraid to take the leap. And every time I do, greatness happens. And we have to, again, understand that we can't let these fears allow us to play small. So just even some of the notes I wrote, some of the biggest lessons, respect yourself. Having boundaries is not a negative thing, that you have to respect yourself and respect the fact that this is your life. And if it's going to be your life, that means you've got to start respecting yourself enough to make the decisions that are going to be right for you. That it's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve the old you, your old identities, and to grieve, some of the ways things used to be. Love when you talked about your comfort zone. Your comfort zone does not serve you. It's there, it's comfortable, and we tend to stay there too long because we just know it. But that doesn't mean it's serving us for the betterment. I love the idea that you are not lost or broken. And his phrase was, you're not lost, you're looking. Don't think something's wrong with you. I spent years thinking things were wrong with me because I always wanted more. I was interested in so many different things, and people would always tell me, they still tell me, aren't you just kind of doing enough? Why do you want to do something new? Because it's part of my growth. It's part of my journey. So again, you're not lost. You're not broken. You're just in the process of growing and going new. Love that he talked about the idea of do an audit. Sometimes we think the grass is greener, and doing an audit will tell us, no, things are pretty good. Maybe we're just having a moment. Or maybe it's going to say that, what, I'm playing small over here. An audit doesn't mean you have to go 100% in a direction and change everything. Sometimes it's those little tweaks. Sometimes it's the honesty of understanding that we need to unlock ourselves. So I just think wherever you are, whether it's personal, professional, understanding that being vulnerable, opening up, making pivots are necessary. You're here to be the best version of yourself, and you can't do that if you're playing small. You can't lead others, you can't lead yourself, and you can't truly live when you are keeping yourself in a comfort zone. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I really encourage you, let's go out there and share this with so many others, because there are people who are at crossroads, and this might just be the message that gives them the freedom, the courage, and the ability to know that they need to bet on themselves. So thanks very much for joining. Keep following the show, like it, give us a 5-star rating, and don't forget to come back next time for another episode of Clarity in Action.